So hi, this is Gene Trowbridge with the Trowbridge Law Group, and this is our Tuesday TLG Facebook post. And happy to be with you. Glad you could join me today at Trowbridge Law Group. We're a law firm that works in the area of group investing, syndication. If you're going to put together a group of investors to do anything, more than likely you're going to end up in the securities world, and then you need an attorney who practices in that area, who can draft the paperwork and give you advice, and I guess help you raise money legally and keep you out of trouble, and that's what we do. So this Facebook post is the second in a series of two, having to do with a book review, and the book is Free Agent Nation. Free Agent Nation, the future of working for yourself. And it's authored by Daniel Pink. And as I said last time, this book was written in 1995, and I read it at that time. I was leaving the syndication business. I was going into the legal practice, going to law school, and I was facing probably working by myself, working alone, which would have been a first for me because I've always worked in some sort of a company generally that I owned, but never really working alone. So to follow up on the last part of the book review, I said one of the themes was loyalty. In this book, the author talked about the lack of loyalty, or the loss of loyalty, if you would, vertical loyalty, from the top down in the corporate world down to the workers, and the explosion of horizontal loyalty when you worked on a team, and that's where you got your satisfaction. And so what that led me to do is, when I went to start practicing law, where I thought I was going to be a solo practitioner and work alone, I immediately went out and lease an office space where I could bring some other people in there, not necessarily in my firm, but some other people I knew who were working alone. And I thought we would team up and have teamwork and synergy, and we would develop loyalty there because there was no one above us and no one below us. And that worked. So the book drove me to that. But the second thing the book drove me to, and you might think this is kind of silly, but the second thing the book drove me to was a discussion of, what do you do if for 20 years, 25 years, you've gotten in your car every morning and driven to the office? You've gotten up, you've got dressed, you've driven to the office. You've arrived at work. You work, you do what you do for lunch and whatever. At the end of the day, you get in your car and you drive home. You've left work. How do you do that when you're a solo business person? A lot of the people who were leaving the corporate world were going to work solo, and we're going to work virtually. And many of us thought about working from a home office. And I did that for a long time, off and on, over the last 27 years as an attorney. I've spent a lot of time working out of my home office. Even the last firm I was with, the office was 90 miles away, and I only went once a week. And today, our firm with our 6 people is totally virtual. We're in Texas, Nashville, San Francisco, LA, and San Diego, totally virtually. So we're all working from our own office space. So what do you do? How do you get back that feeling of arriving at work? Like I said, you might think this is weird, but based on what this book told me, today, I get up in the morning and I get dressed for whatever the morning asks me to do. And I try to manage all of my Zoom meetings, all of my anything that's visual with someone else, any meeting when I'm going to go to someone's office. I always try to manage it in the morning. So I get up in the morning, I get dressed for what I need to do that day, I get in the car, I drive up to the coffee shop, the donut shop, I buy a cup of coffee, and I buy a newspaper, which is what I did forever. But then instead of going to an office, I either move on to my first appointment, or I come back home and go into my home office, drink my coffee, read my paper, and I'm dressed, I'm ready for the day, and I do whatever I have to do in the morning. No coming down to work in my PJs, no coming down to work other than dressed for work. I need a sense of arrival in my life, arriving at work. And that's been an easy thing for me to do for 27 years now. Now, the next thing the book talked about is, how do you leave work? And his argument is, it was okay when all the lights went off in the office building and everyone got in their car and went home. You got in your car and you went home. Your workday was pretty much over. But when you're working virtually or you're working on your own, it's hard to have an end to the day. This is still very hard for me because it's easy for me to walk in the house, spend some time with my wife and the kids, have dinner, and then say, you know, I just have to go back to work and do a few things. And all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. That's very difficult. I'm working after 27 years. I'm still working at it. And that's the hard one. There was a TV commercial I remember, you probably will remember it, where a man was standing at his desk in an office. It was a nicely decorated office, and he was making a phone call, and he got through with the phone call, and he pushed a button, and he said, send Marion. I don't remember what the name was, but on the side of the office were two French doors, and the French doors opened, and here came a little girl in her tutu running into the office yelling, "Daddy's home." That was the end of the workday for him. He left the office, he closed those French doors and was in the kitchen with his family. That's a skill set that I think you have to develop. So as I think about this book, and I just went out and bought a brand new copy of this book because I don't have the old one anymore. But once again, it was written in '95. It's been updated quite a few times and has more information. I'm going to read it again, but I wanted to tell you that here's a place where if you are struggling working on your own without the loyalty you used to have going to an office, you've got to find a team. You've got to find people to work with. So I didn't last very long as a solo practitioner attorney. I rented a space, brought some other attorneys in there, and to this day, I think I've been in 4 different partnerships that I've formed as a law firm that I was the boss in all of them. So I continued to have people around me, my team that I had some loyalty with. And my pattern every morning is getting up, getting dressed for the day, getting a cup of coffee, getting a newspaper, and coming home. I mean, literally coming home, driving into the driveway, walking into my office at home, and understanding I am now at work. It gives a message to everyone else in the house too. I think that's part of it. But that's what I have to say about it. And I think you should go out and, once again, free agent nation, the future of working for yourself. And maybe you won't be working for yourself, but you might be working virtually. So you might have to pick up some habits that support you when you're working virtually. So once again, I'm Gene Trowbridge with the Trowbridge Law Group. I think I mentioned that we have a YouTube channel. It's called Trowbridge Law. And at that YouTube channel, there are a number of interviews. I think we're about 30 interviews with people who are in the syndication business. And when I asked them, what would you expect rookies to do? What's your suggestion or advice for rookies? They all said, find a team to work with. Don't try to do this yourself. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So once again, Gene Trowbridge saying goodbye, and I'll see you next Tuesday at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for the next edition of my Facebook posts. Bye.